All right, guys, this is Vince. I'm bringing you another Masters Series interview. This time we have Gareth Jones. He runs artoftheplayboy.com. He used to teach at ABCs of Attraction, and he's been traveling the world, and now he's settled in Boston, and finally got a chance to sit down to speak with us. So, Gareth, welcome.
Hi, finally, yeah, right?
I've read some of your field reports, and I'd always wanted to ask you this. Are you like if you're by yourself and you're traveling in a new city, do you have the skill set to pretty much get any girl you want on any day? Or I think a lot of guys have this expectation of quote unquote dating coaches. What's that really like in reality?
In reality, it's picking up chicks is a number game. I am not so much interested in going to a bar and picking up a chick and then bringing her home. For me, I like going out with friends. I like having a good time, and I think that learning these skills and being really good at these skills is such a necessary frosting to the cupcake of having fun with your friends, right? There are extreme examples. I mean, I'm sure you've read the example when I was at the airport and I was at this wine bar sitting down and this gorgeous girl walked in and I was like, that girl, I want that girl. Like, I want to start something with her. She was just beautiful and she'd literally come off. I looked at her and I was like, yo, you look like you just arrived from Italy. And she literally had come from Italy. I was like, yeah. But in reality, what it's really like is it's really...
Was that your opener?
Sorry?
Was that your opener?
Oh, no, it was... it's funny when we talk about openers, in boot camps and doing club game and stuff like that, there's so much focus on the opener that, what do I say? My opener was she sat down next to me and I was like, yeah, the cask, the steel cask Chardonnay is really good or something if you want to try that. It was whatever. Openers are really just the first thing that comes out of your mouth. I recently sat down. So when you're always when you take a flight somewhere, there's always one attractive girl, and she and you see her in the gate, and then you're like, fuck, I hope I sit next to her. I hope I sit next to her. She sat next to me at this flight. She walked on, I got on kind of one of the first groups because I had priority boarding. So I sat down and she was walking up the aisle and I was like, please sit next to me. Please sit next to me. Cause it's a captive audience. And she sat down next to me and I was like, yes. And she was trying to move around and she was trying to and I fly a lot. So I'm pretty experienced. And I was like, stop. And she looked at me and I was like, put your bag on the seat, then put your stuff in the back seat side pocket, then put your bag, and then get what you need out, and then put your bag out of the seat. And she was like, and did exactly what I told her. Put it under the seat, and she was like, that was pretty smooth. I don't fly a lot. And I was like, I do. My name's Gareth. And it was that's kind of your opener. But yeah, the original question is, it's really just it's about choice. Right. So we learn these skills so we can choose, if we're at a bar and we see this girl and she's wearing a Queen t-shirt or a James Bond t-shirt or something like that. I now have the skill to be able to go over and get past all the crap that's going on to actually make a connection with her. And I think a lot of this lifestyle that we as pickup artists kind of represent, it really doesn't require traveling alone. It's being interesting and making connections and having friends that want to go do exciting things with you and being able to have the skills to go through all of the people that you've met and really make the kind of connections to keep these people in your life. There are times when, I was in, where was I? When I was in Paris with a friend, and I was just like, let's go out and talk to some girls tonight. And he was like, okay. Whoa, let's do this. And then we can make that decision, go out and then do we want to get laid? Sure. Do we want to sleep with that girl? Yeah, definitely. But sometimes you don't want to. And I think the biggest thing about being a professional pickup artist, quote unquote, is that guys kind of expect that you're always going out and just banging girls, going out, picking up a girl, coming home, going out, picking up a girl, coming home. And I hate to sound old, but it gets really boring. That's a lot of work. It's really like going out and then spending 6 hours like talking about
It's also
the
very
same shit.
it's also very fleeting too. After all.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And it's very, very difficult. One of the most difficult things to do seduction, the course of seduction, is to turn a one night stand into a relationship. So I almost kind of prefer, like, if I go to a new city and I'm by myself and I want to make friends, I'll like go to that city, go out to a bar, just start talking to people, become social, be introduced to their friends, get a group of friends, and then the next night when they go out, maybe it's the next night or the night after, we all go out, and then I can start using these friends to meet other girls, bringing them in, being the guy that's fun, being the social guy, and then creating that kind of social atmosphere, and if I meet that girl at that first night, and we hit it off, I'll take her number and then take her out on a date. It'll give me something to do during the day instead of spending all your time in loud bars trying to pick up chicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever met a girl that you really liked, look-wise and also personality-wise, but for some reason she wouldn't give you her number, or that you couldn't get her? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, more so when I was like, kind of beginning. But I've had. I mean, the thing that comes to my mind is in Prague. I met this girl. There's a lot of situations actually, but I met this girl in Prague, and when you're in Eastern Europe and Europe, that kind of side of Europe, you kind of have to say like, oh, I'm staying here for a while. You can't really say I'm leaving in 2 days, because there aren't a lot of people that want to bother starting relationships with you if you are leaving right away, which I totally understand. But I kind of, I told her, I was like, well, we're going through Prague. We're going to go to Budapest, on Wednesday, and then we're going to be in Serbia, and then I go to Montenegro, but then I'll be back in Prague. We had this conversation where she was it actually started, we started dancing. It was this bar called James Dean. That's like an American rock bar. And they were playing some like Temptations or something, and she started like dancing, and I started dancing, and I was like, that girl. So we started dancing together, and we ended up spending the night talking. And I was like, well, listen, let me see you before I leave. And she was like, I don't think so. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, listen, you're incredible. You're a lot of fun. You're very, very handsome. But if you and I sleep together, we're never going to see each other again. And I don't want that. And she was like, and I don't really want to give you my number because I don't want to have a relationship that's long distance. I want to find a nice guy that lives in Prague and settles down, and you're not going to move to Prague. And I was like, wow. Like, on one hand, I was kind of like, bitch, but on the other hand, I was like, geez, that's really admirable. She's like, I don't want to put up with the hardships, with somebody that, I'm going to end up moving, but I love being in Prague. I want to stay in the Czech Republic, and, I'm not going to move, and you're probably not going to move here. So it is the way it is, and, I don't necessarily agree with that, but she was she was very specific in what she wanted and what she was willing to put up with, that I had to admire it. And unfortunately, the other situations that I've been where I've been interested in a girl and she's been interested in me, are usually when a girl's married. It comes to mind with this girl in New York City that I ended up, it was two girls. We were at a place called La Ban, and on Sunday night after we had filmed for ABC actually, and we had this boot camp, and the boot camp was kind of like a 2-day 2-night or 3-day 2-night boot camp. So it was Sunday night. We all kind of went out, but we weren't really, working. And my students started talking to these two girls, and ended up talking to kind of the less attractive one, which I was like, okay, well, I'll swing in here and wing you, and started talking to the cute girl. And the cute girl, like the first thing she said, she was like, I just got married. And I was like, that's why my friends started talking to you. So I was like, oh, no big deal. I was like, yeah, I'm just talking to you. And she was like, we talked. And like 10 minutes later, she was like, I am married. And I was like, listen, I know you're married. I'm not, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. I'm just here to talk to you because my friend's clearly interested in your friend's clearly interested in my friend, and it would be really shitty for, you to sit here by yourself. And I was like, I've got girls in my life, and I'm not here to itching to get laid. I'm here to have some drinks and some conversation, so I'm not worried about that. So we ended up talking pretty much all night, and these bars are open till like all night or till 4 or something like that in New York. And we ended up staying there for a very long time. And she was, whether it was the alcohol or whether it was, pretty much my game and just the connection that we had was really beautiful. She was super sarcastic. She was very intelligent. And it started to be like, us slowly falling in love with each other, which is the reason we do this. The reason this skill is to watch those connections being built. And it was just beautiful. And at the end of the night, she was just like, please don't leave. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, if you leave like early, because I was like, oh, it's 2 a.m. I'm going to go home. And she was like, if you leave, like, we're done. Like, we're never going to see each other. I can't give you my number. I'm married. I was like, she was like, you don't live here. I very rarely go out. We're out for my friend because she just broke up with her boyfriend. And like, if you leave now, I miss. This is it. It's done. Like when you leave, it's over. So can we just like hold out for a little longer? And so I stayed for another hour or so, and my friend started getting pretty drunk, and it came to the point where I really had to go, and I was just like, I was like, I'm not going to try to get your number. I'm not going to try to take you home. I was like, I know from experience that if I asked you to come home with me, you would do it, and you would feel terrible about it. And I was like, I can't do it. And she was like, she started like, her eyes started welling up and, she started being really emotional. And I was like, this is not a thing in my life that I'm here to do, and I had told her what I do. And I told her what we had been doing this weekend and about meeting women and interacting with women. And she was really cool about it. And she totally understood. And she was like, she was like, this is amazing. And I respect that. And she was like, and you respect me and it's incredible, but I regret so much that we met each other now and not, 2 years ago. And I was like, I totally understand. And that was when, it was very late at night and we were dancing with each other, which was basically like we were holding each other on the corner of the dance floor. And I said to her, I said, listen, I've got to go. And she started crying. And it just broke my heart, and she is obviously in the situation where, she wasn't happy. I mean, maybe she was happy where she was, but, when you make a strong connection, it has a really powerful emotional impact, so you make that big connection and then it has these huge repercussions on your emotions that, in the morning she'll wake up and she'll be like, oh, that guy was really cool. She's not going to be sad about it forever or whatever. And I stood there and I said, I'm going to go. And she said to me, I can't kiss you. And that was like, I would like to kiss you, but I can't do that. And I was like, all right, well, here's the deal. I'm going to kiss you. And I was like, you don't have to kiss me back and you can slap me if it'll kill her, but I'm going to kiss you. And she looked me dead in the eyes and like single tear fell down her cheek and I kissed her. Right. And I gave her like a good goodbye. I'm getting on the plane. I'm flying back from Casablanca, like that kind of kiss. And then she slapped me. And then she said, it was so amazing to meet you, and gave me this big hug, and I left, and she was just like so upset. And I was in the car, I was in the back of the cab with my student on the way back, and he was just like, yo, what happened with that girl? And I was like, oh man, I can't talk about that right now. And he was like, yo, she was so into you. And I was like, we just can't, we gotta let that one go, and there are a lot of situations that you will meet these women and circumstances don't permit, and there's a lot of things, where women's, sometimes women's minds will come in and they'll just be like, nope, this can't happen, and that's always a tough thing, and then there's stupid, like logistical shit, like, I mean, God, one time, we were, James Marshall and I were out in Sydney, long time ago, and we met these 2 Russian girls, and they were just cute as buttons, and and it was like all night or whatever. We were up all night, and then we went to the bathroom, and to kind of figure out what we were going to do, and we were waiting in this big ass line. It was like 6 a.m. We were waiting in this big ass line. We were in the bathroom for like 25 minutes. Figuring out what we needed to do and what was going on. And when we came out, they had closed the bar and started shuffling people out. And I guess that they started on the patio. The girls put their drinks down and said, we'll wait for the guys. And the guys never came out. We never came out after 20 minutes. And so when we came out, they were gone. And we had never gotten their number or whatever. We were like, oh, so stupid, amateur mistake. But yeah, totally. That stuff happens all the time.
That's a beautiful story. I'm talking more, for me, it's like sometimes I'll meet a club girl, a promoter girl or a girl who's used to going out and dressing up.
Yeah.
And then those are the kind of girls that I can't get. Sometimes I'll talk to them and then they'll kind of be dismissive a little bit.
Okay. Well, you know what that means, don't you?
Tell me.
That means your game is not good enough. I hate to say it, but it really just comes down to that. I mean, it really means you're delivering exactly what she expects you to deliver. You're playing into maybe the stereotype of all the other guys at that place. You're not giving her something, something new. You're not giving her what she needs, and that's really a question of figuring out what she needs and being able to deliver it.
That's an interesting thought. I guess, I don't know, sometimes it's like the well-educated girl at the bar who doesn't go out that often but goes out sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I can have a real conversation with her and she get to see a little glimpse of who I really am.
Uh-huh.
Usually that tends to stick. Or at least it tends to go well, like as in, timing's bad or, whatever, but you were nice to talk to. And I could see, like, how when you see attraction, a girl attracted to you, you can tell by the signals.
Yeah.
The club girl, though, the one that's usually pretty hot but maybe not as smart, but has a lot of fun doing it. That one, for me, is a little bit harder to game. Sometimes I'll be able to do it, but a lot of times she'll just be like, oh, there's something else going on, or like kind of like a little butterfly, like flying around.
Yeah. No, I understand, and not to be like kind of repetitive, but that really is just those girls. Every girl needs something, right? So in Art of the Playboy, one of the big things that I teach is that there's this philosophy, right? And everybody needs something. Okay, at one particular point, and I don't mean big things like everyone needs a goal or everyone needs evolution. I mean like at one particular point in time in the night, a girl needs something, right? And you have to figure out what it is that she needs. So when you say, oh, the smart girl that doesn't go out that often, I can usually make a connection with her because she'll see who I am. What that really means is that you guys are more compatible on a default level. It means that who you are is what she's looking for. So all you have to do is show her those parts of who you are, right? And I say specifically those parts of who you are because we're all a lot of different things. We all represent a huge amount of things. Like even me, I can be one thing to one person. Like, the girls that'll be like, oh, you're too square for me. And then I'll show them a picture of me in long hair and skinny jeans. And they're like, oh. Right. You're showing her a particular part of you that she's attracted to, right? What you need to do with another type of girl is find out what she's attracted to and then show her that part of you, right? So like for smart, independent girl that doesn't go out that often, maybe she's looking for a secure guy that can provide for her, that wants self-growth, that really, wants that wants to learn and explore and take advantage of life, And so as a business owner, as a website, owner, and somebody that does these kind of interviews and does your own business and works on the marketing and all that, you can show her what kind of growth you're making and she'll be attracted to that, right? Whereas if you run into that club girl, maybe she wants fun. Maybe she wants excitement. Maybe she wants that guy that can provide, that can show, really like be the cool guy that she can introduce to her friends, and all her friends are going to be jealous, right? The thing is, as somebody that owns a website and as somebody that does the marketing, what you really need to show is look at all the cool people I know, look at how much I travel, look at how secure I am so that we can buy stuff, we can go places, we can do fun things. You can demonstrate those qualities to her just as well as you can demonstrate the other qualities to the other girl. But what we're really running into is the issue of whether or not you believe that you can effectively demonstrate the qualities that woman is looking for on purpose, and when you talk about kind of like she can get the glimpse of me, it's a very passive mentality. That means that you're just going to do whatever you do, and she's going to see something she likes, and good for you, you lucked out. Where in actuality, you need to be in control of what she's seeing and showing. You need to be in control of the parts of you that you're showing her. Just like, that girl at the club that's a little more hyperactive, that wants fun, that comes out because she lives for the moment and being, for pleasure, for excitement, for fun.
That's very interesting. Also, the other reason is that these club girls tend to focus on more superficial things, like superficial DHVs, as opposed to, I guess, longer term DHVs, which would be more, do you have a goal in life? Da, 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 da. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, I understand that view, and I think a big mistake guys make is that they don't give enough credit to women. You know, like when they say, "Oh, she's looking for superficial DHVs," what she's really looking for is signs that you are displaying your success, right? Whereas the other girl is allowing you to describe your success, right? So, and this is a huge part too. So right now, while I've been Skyping with you, you've got this great picture, you know, nice jacket, nice pressed shirt, nice well done hair, you know, great skin, great color contrast. That was clearly a presentation that you decided on making because you were like, I need to get some photos done. Am I right?
Yeah.
I know you've muted me. The reason why you've done that is because you're like, you know what? I need to be presentable. I need to look like the $1 million that I'm worth. I need to be able to put my face out there in a way that's going to positively reflect the things that I stand for. That being said, that's what we call superficial DHVs. And when you look at it in terms of girls, you're like, oh, well, you know, she's not interested in, you know, my success or doing intelligent things. She's interested in, you know, more superficial stuff like that. That's what you're working into. And the two are not mutually exclusive, you know. I think about it, you know, like the girl that's really interested in who you are and you know, maybe it doesn't come out to the club. I know what kind of girl you're talking about. She is allowing you more lenience for those superficial DHVs, right? But in actuality, I mean, you can present those superficial demonstrations of higher value just as easily. You know, I myself can go out there in that suit and that tie and, you know, get myself a martini and park myself at a table, and that girl, that club girl, is going to look at me and go, "Who's that guy?" You know, just as much as that intelligent, you know, quiet, and, you know, motivated girl is going to look at me.
The same DHV that's going to attract the club girl is sometimes repels the other one, because my last girlfriend was the other one, and a lot of the stuff that you consider to be attractive to the club girl actually puts her off. Like, what's a good example? She when she goes out, she actually doesn't go out that often, and then she prefers to find friends that are, you know, don't go out to clubs all the time. And then when I tell her all the people I know in the club scene, it kind of turned her off, actually. So
okay.
It's not always mutual. It's like, I see what you're saying. You're saying that if we consider it all a game, we can always choose to present whatever seems superficial at the time, short term, to display who we really are. And we can be very different things.
Well, it comes down to two questions. The first question is, the way that you worded it is very, very telling. When you say it's not always going to attract the other girl, which means you're leaving it up to her. All right? That's really, really important. Okay? If you leave it up to her, you're right. You are at her mercy. You're at the mercy of what she thinks is attractive, of what she wants to be attractive. That's very dangerous because it means you're not in control, which means you're not actually gaming. It means you're putting yourself in a situation and waiting until you can find a girl that is attracted to you. That's what all guys do. That's not game. That's waiting for you to be pre-selected. The other thing that's very important is asking your old girlfriend, why is she turned off that you knew other people in that club industry? Does it reflect on you? Does that reflect that you're the type of person? Because girls that don't go out a lot really have objections to people that do go out a lot, because usually it has to do with how repetitive the club situation is. You know, you're just going out, you're drinking, you're, you know, dealing with airheads that are always drunk, you know, right. Whatever the stereotype is. But what I always used to say is girls are like, well, I don't go out that much, and I don't know if you go out that much, we're going to get along. Well, I always say, well, listen, these are the reasons I go out. I go out because, you know, I need to meet people. I need to step it up and educate myself in the way of social fashion, right? In the way of networking, in the way of interaction, and seeing all the trends and seeing all these people that exist in this environment. right? So when I go out, it's a way for me and my friends to find an environment where we can learn as well as experience new things, as well as stay in touch with each other. Are we just as happy to go to a restaurant during the day? Absolutely. Are we just as happy to do this while we're going bowling? Yeah, sure. I don't mind bowling. But at the same time, this is an environment that delivers all these things in very particular nature. If she doesn't like you going out that much, really what that has to do is her not enjoying going out that much and her seeing that, this is an activity that you do that she can't take part in, and that really kind of comes down to whether or not she thinks you can enjoy doing other things, right? So showing diversity is really, really important. If I had a girl in my life that really liked me that said, oh, well, we can't be together because you go out too much, I would ask her why. I would ask her what her problem with that is, and even if it comes down to like it turned me off that you knew so many people, like there's a deeper issue there. There's a deeper belief that she has about that you could discover quite quickly, I believe, and you could probably pretty easily put to rest. When it comes down to a girl that doesn't go out that often, and she says, well, I don't go out that often, so I don't think you're ever going to meet, your significant other in a club. It's really interesting because I have to look at it this way. If I'm intelligent and motivated and well-traveled and well-spoken and have a good outlook on life and I'm willing to improve myself, there is absolutely no reason for me to believe a person similar to that wouldn't be in the club that I'm in. Even if it's, I'm out celebrating my sister's birthday. I hate being here, but I have to do it. Or I'm out for a work function, or I'm out for happy hour with my girlfriends that I haven't seen in a long time. I wanted to go home and, cook dinner, but they wanted to do this. It's really just about interpersonal relationship. And it comes back down to the concept of, what is going to attract these women. That's a very passive mindset, and it's giving them the power, which is, I'm not all about, men having power and stuff, but if you're looking for something and you're looking to move forward with it, like you have to be the one in control and you have to be willing to step over those hurdles, because I believe very sincerely that if you have a relationship where somebody admires you and somebody respects you and they have an objection like how often you go out, if you can't justify that, if you can't show them that that's valuable in some way, then they're not actually interested in being with you. They're interested in being with a vision of somebody that they have in their mind, and you're the closest person to fit that vision at that particular point in time.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So let's say you're going out to club and you are in your because you had a rock star phase, right? Are you more attraction from these club girls than you are, let's say, with your style now?
It's so weird because it's very much changed. I hate to say it, but in some ways I really found it just a ton easier to pick up chicks when I had long hair and skinny jeans and stuff. I kind of like standing out. I'm very much a character that enjoys being different. And it does come from me always having been different. I had long hair since I was 12. I had really, really long hair and that rock star style because I was a musician. I went to music school. I went to Berkeley in Boston, and I toured with rock bands, and I did that in LA. And it was what I was comfortable with what I grew up with. And when I changed, and I did change specifically because I needed to experience change. I needed to know what the other side was like. Because for 24 years, I was always that guy with long hair. It would always be put me in a lineup with 50 guys at the club, and it was that guy with long hair. And that was something that was very, very intimidating. Excuse me. Whoa. Very intimidating for me. Viewing the rest of my life, kind of saying, geez, well, I'm always going to be that guy. Is it a crutch? Is it something different? That being said, I realized that it was the extreme nature of the look, whether it be really long hair, skinny jeans, open shirt, lots of jewelry, or whether it be, three-piece suit with a bow tie with slick back hair and a mustache, whatever the extreme versions of that look are that make it easy, that make it very, I should say, polarizing, because, no girl is going to be like, oh, I don't date guys in T-shirts. But a lot of girls, God, girls have come up to me specifically and been like, you're overdressed. Why are you overdressed? So for me, like, is it easier? No, was it easier at the time? It was easier to find a style of girl that wanted a good-looking white guy with long blonde hair. Yes, it definitely was. But now with this kind of menswear revolution, things like Chuck Bass, right? In Gossip Girl coming out and really just being like, yo, I fucking dress like this, like you should too. It really is starting to change kind of the way people view me and the way people view the way I dress and the way I interact, and that's kind of exciting to me. So the polarizing look, anytime you polarize a look, it's going to be easier than it is just kind of like wearing what every other guy wore. And I'm not very good at that. I'm not good at being every other guy, and I've never really bothered to try to do that. So, it really is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
If you were to go out now with your current style to pick up club girls, would you run the same game, or would it be different?
I have my game has evolved because I cut my hair 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years. Actually, this is so weird, I remember, but I cut my hair on September 19th. My game has evolved since then tremendously, so I wouldn't run the same game just simply because I do a different style of interaction. But that being said, the style of interaction that I did work very well because of the look that I gave off and the things that, how secure I was with myself and how I was interacting with women. It was very much like a Russell Brandy kind of comedian / sex deviant entertainer.
Yeah.
And now I'm very kind of like, yo, here's me. Like, it's very much a kind of, here's me, here's my game, I'm going to seduce you. Kind of like I get the Chuck Bass vibe a lot. Like, people are always like, the kind of James Bond thing always makes me laugh because, I love James Bond and the books are great and the character is just an amazing character. And if you look at the books, you can actually understand that Ian Fleming, the guy that wrote the James Bond books, was tremendous with women. He was really good with women. And you can tell in the way that the books are written, which is why, anybody that's good with girls can see that in that dialogue, which is just amazing to me. But, so I'm a bit of a James Bond nerd, but I don't try to be like James Bond. I don't really it's not really kind of my thing. But when I go out, women are like, yeah, you're like James Bond. And the guys think I'm like James Bond because of how I dress. And the girls are like, you're James Bond because you know what you want. And you're going to, you take no substitutions. You're drinking the best drinks. You're dressed in the best clothes. And you're talking to me. And you, clearly want me. So it's very, very different. But I believe that, how you're interacting with women, it is a combination of understanding what they want, how they interpret you, and then what you're willing to give them from that. And that's what's changed, with me more so than just my style of game.
Got it. Talk to me a little bit about this, because in talking to you, I realized this is maybe a weak point. I go to these, and maybe other guys that are listening have this problem too. Actually, I know they do, because they come and ask me, and I tell them, I haven't figured this out yet.
I tell them,
I'm good with the business professional crowd, and I can game. But sometimes when we go out to clubs, especially loud dancing clubs, some of the girls I can get probably most of the girls in there. There's that top 20%, and by top I mean superficial. But the promoter girl who's dressed in really kind of slutty but kind of classy clothes. She's got her hair done.
Black dress, sequins,
high heels, sometimes blonde, just very sparkly.
Yep.
That type of girl tends to have a short attention span, and I don't always have. Sometimes I get them, and sometimes I lose them a lot. And I'm trying to figure out how to properly game that type of girl. If you have any suggestions. And by the way, I just want to say that I'm not really attracted to them girlfriend-wise, but I've always been curious because they've always been the type of girls that I wasn't quite able to game at the club.
Okay, well, let's let's make a couple of important distinctions here for our devoted listeners while I light the cigar and do the most playboyish thing I can while we talk about this. Ideally, in the worlds of seduction and male, preservation and self-worth and self-benefit, you shouldn't be sleeping with girls that you're not really attracted to in a long-term sense, because it's just going to be a shallow night of sex, which isn't going to be that fulfilling. Whatever. That being said, I know, because I'm a man and because I've been teaching this, guys sometimes they just need to get with the hot girl. Sometimes you just need to go bang a hot girl so you can feel good about yourself, I dated a girl a long time ago when I still had long hair that I dated a couple girls, but this girl in particular was porn star hot,
right?
Not beautiful, the chick from Braveheart, but she was porn star hot. She was a stripper. She had big bolt-ons. She was just skinny and fucking hot, and she was the kind of girl you're like, yep, I'm going to bang that girl. She left a lot to be desired in other elements of my life or of her life. She wasn't that well educated. I wouldn't accuse her of being classy. And when I look back at it, would I ever make her my girlfriend? No, I wouldn't. She's not the kind of girl I would date for an extended period of time. But in my life as a man, I needed that validation. I needed to know that I could, get that hot chick. And it's really, that's one of the things that kind of a lot of women don't understand about men is that, sometimes you just need to be validated. Sometimes you just, need to hook up with that hot girl so that you can realize you can do it, and that life is really a big part of knowing you can do that kind of thing. And that's, that being said, what I always kind of encourage guys is to understand that, you know what, this might not be a long-term thing. This might not be something that you're interested in hooking up with. Just dropped a giant box of matches on the ground. It might not be something that you are interested in pursuing for a long-term goal, but at the same time, you still have to remember that she is a person, and even if she's less educated or less worldly or whatever, she is somebody that does have her own life and does have her own feelings, and you have to approach it that way. The reason why I bring that up, and I kind of give you the old moral gentleman talk, is because it really does come down to the idea of what it is that she's looking for. Okay, when you talk about the club girl that has the short attention span, what that really means is that she needs something more exciting to keep her attention. Okay, that's all that it is. Anybody that has a short attention span, unless they're suffering from really terrible ADD or ADHD, it really is just about her needing more stimulation. Okay, and if she enjoys a club, if she's made that her career, if she enjoys that atmosphere, then she probably enjoys the hectic nature. She probably enjoys the high energy, the swarm of people, and it really just simply comes down to delivering what she wants, right? So girls like that, you've got to go in with a high impact, okay? The main philosophy of that is giving her what other people can't give her, right? So going in, being super sassy maybe, being super energetic, really injecting her with something that all these other guys aren't getting, especially when all these other guys are going to be hitting on her, What I would do with something like a hostess, right? Like a club hostess, you got to understand she knows a lot of people, okay? And she's there because these people want to be involved with her, and it probably to a certain level, that social group is attracted to her. And attractive to her, excuse me. So she wants to be involved with that. So can you get introduced to that group? Can you start talking to that one guy at the bar, have him introduce you to your friends, and then meet that girl through them? With the standard high energy, I need attention girl, It really does. I wrote an article about this, about negging. It really comes down to some dangerous stuff. I mean, if that girl is just at that club to get wasted and get validated, you really have to kind of play on that. You have to give her what she's looking for, which is like validation, right? But she wants validation from the kind of guy, most often not, that she does not feel herself worthy of. Okay, so you have to demonstrate how important you are to yourself, all the cool things you're doing, all of the stuff in your life that's really exciting, and why you're valuable, and then kind of get her to chase you in some manner. Giving her little bits of information about yourself, showing you're interested but you're not sold yet, which is a great mentality that James Marshall teaches. That I really, really like, and I teach myself, is that you're interested, but you're not convinced yet, in that girl. And a lot of that does come down to some of the mystery method stuff. Some of the old mystery method stuff where you really do have to put on a show. You really do have to show that you are not like every other guy that she wants interested in her. That you have a lot of things that she wants to be around all the time, and that that ADD just means that you got to put it in hyperdrive, especially in a club with loud music and lots of alcohol and lots of guys. That's what you're contesting. That's what you're up against, So you are working against all this alcohol and all this, bright light and loud music and club promoters that she knows. You've got to be them plus one every time over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I found out the other way to do it is just be friends with them outside of the club. But they're usually working so much, probably you'll find them early afternoon on a weekday, just hanging out at your house, by the pool. But
that's a big thing too with like a stripper mentality, being a customer, right? Like them, if you try to pick them up at work, they're going to see you as a customer. Yeah. If you try to pick them up at the grocery store, they're going to see you as a guy at the grocery store,
Yeah, and that club girl who's there to party for validation, she's going to treat you as one of the guys that's hitting on her at the club.
Yeah, unless you can frame it like she's hitting on you.
Right.
And that's really dangerous because unfortunately a lot of those girls are, and I'm not saying all of them, of course, but a lot of the girls that are at the club to be the hot girl to get the validation, they need seduction in ways that is not, it's not morally safe. Like the concept of a neg, right? The neg is to a negative statement to bring her off her high pedestal so she doesn't think you're better than her by literally making her insecure. Yeah. And unfortunately, that shit works.
That's what it takes, yeah.
Sometimes, and I don't encourage doing it. But that being said, I mean, if delivering a neg to a girl like that is going to bring her off her high horse that she's on so she can look down on men and then bring her off that high horse so that you can actually make a connection and she can start to like you. I mean, the line is so thin, the morality line is so thin, but because of the negative aspect of it, I don't do it. I don't enjoy that at all.
I have found another way. This is more, it doesn't work all the time, but if you're so authentic in a club and you just talk to her like a real person, sometimes that'll translate into a number that you can close. But for the most part, her attention span is pretty small, and there's a lot of stimulations.
The best way to make a connection with a girl is to be super authentic. I always say there's two ways to get good with women, okay? Or there's two ways to be good with women. Number one is to lie and say everything she wants to hear, okay? Number two is to be so fucking authentic and so honest and so genuine that it hits her like a ton of bricks. Really good example is like a Def Leppard or like Van Halen versus John Mayer, right? Like their lyrics, like Van Halen's like, "Yo, we're gonna like sing a song about like big titted girls and like partying and Panama, and stuff like that." Whereas John Mayer's like, "Yo, your breakup feels like XYZ," where the lyrics are super honest and they just hit you like a ton of bricks. And that's really what it is. But when we talk about the girl at the club who is like trying to she's dressing up to try to be validated, then it gets really, really dangerous, because once you are super genuine with her, she's already got what she wants from you, you know? So while being genuine, while being authentic, you have to show her that also spending more time with you is like really important for her life, and she would benefit from it. But that being said, if she was the type of girl that could make smart decisions about her life and, you know, make good investment plans, she wouldn't be like at a club trying to get validation in like the most basic and carnal way possible.
It's funny, the more we talk about this, the more we realize, why would I like a girl like that? But it's almost like it's like default challenging game. I think that's the mystery, invented a mystery method to get girls like that, because it would so much.
To get with the girls that you can't get with. And the problem is, you know, and that's why I started right by saying that, is that, you know, you don't want to be with girls like that. And it's going to take you like one girl or two girls that you sleep with like that to realize, like, I totally just don't want to be with girls like that. But that being said, you know, if you spend your life wishing you had done something that everyone had told you you shouldn't do, then you've still spent your life wishing you had done something. And you know, what are we on this planet here for? So it's totally 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
So yeah, either I get my skills up to game girls like that, or I found, you know, there are girls who look like that, who are good girls who don't go to the club, but they're rare finds, and you got to figure out which circles they run in. But definitely,
well, you know what? Also, too, there are girls that look like that do go to clubs. You know, I mean, I met this girl who was she was the hottest girl in the club. She was literally like the hottest girl in the club. Bleach blonde, bright yellow dress, and I went in talking to her like, oh shit, here we go. You know, like I went in like, all right, let me do my shtick. You know, she's so hot. I ended up, it was like a demo approach or something. And as soon as I walked over to her, a guy was walking by, and I did my like I was on the cross of the room, and I like made eye contact, and I like started strutting over, and a guy bumped into me. And he was walking, and he just like didn't see me. And he bumped into me, and then like did like a little pirouette and almost fell, like in the cartoons. And I like looked at him, you know, and I was in the zone. I was like making eye contact with her, like seducing her, and here I come, and I'm gonna deliver some smooth ass line. And like he bumped into me and did this like pirouette, and I like totally broke my concentration and like watched him do this little dance move. And I was like, oh wow, and I laughed, and I looked back at her to like get my like seducto look back on, and she was laughing. And I walked over, and I was like, did you see that guy's dance move he just did? And she was like, yeah, that dude should definitely be working for the Royal Ballet. What a set of thighs he's got on him. And we instantly had this connection, and I was like, holy shit, you're not at all what I was expecting. You know, and I would have probably would have botched that approach if that guy hadn't done that, because I would have walked up and been like, you know, said something fucking stupid. Yeah, oh, hey, I saw a girl with that dress on earlier. It looks good on you, or whatever.
So you're the kind of girl that went to clubs often, or was she just there for the night?
No, she was there it's actually the example I always use. She was there for her sister's birthday. Wow. She was a pre-med student. Yeah. She was like, yeah, I don't come out that often. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I had to borrow this dress. And I was like, it was like this yellow. And she was like, that's why it's like a yellow sequin dress. I was like, yo, it fits you like a glove. You look phenomenal. And that, you know, it's so, so important that while we have stereotypes in our mind, you know, like we have these visions of what we think women can be, it's really, really important not to judge by those stereotypes, to let all of these things happen, and to be open-minded and be willing to experiment, you know, because, you know, if you only learn mystery method and you're only doing mystery method on a girl, a lot of girls will just be like, why are you insulting me? You know, and you've got to be willing to adapt. And that's why I always encourage people to learn from everybody they can, you know, learn from mystery method. I mean, I came from a style life background. I learned style life. I learned mystery method. I learned Ross Jeffries stuff. Like, I can deliver all of that, you know, but that being said, you've got to be willing to draw from those different techniques, like every time you can, every time you find it necessary.
The more I'm talking to you, the more I'm sensing a paradox, which I'm trying to figure out myself, and I think it's an ongoing journey. On one hand, you can run game, as in you can control the interaction.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you can be authentic and just put yourself out there and be vulnerable.
Yo, you know, here's the thing, right? The only problem is, you know, people are afraid of being vulnerable because they they're worried about rejection, right? And they're worried that they themselves are not valuable people, right? When in actuality, the vulnerability that people express makes them more powerful. I mean, I dated this girl who I still talk to. She was one of the first girls that I ever ended up going on a date with when I started to learn PUA stuff, right? The first girl that I went on a date with that I was like, this girl is it, and I was like, I was performing at the Whiskey A Go-Go. Like, I had a band that was, like, selling out. Like, they asked us to open for the Police, and I was, like, going to all the coolest clubs and, like, doing all this stuff. Sorry, my dog's, like, freaking out. Doing all the coolest stuff and doing all this crazy stuff. And I was probably the most, like, superficially confident I'd ever been. And then I met this girl at the mall who was friggin' gorgeous. She was absolutely gorgeous. And she was charming, and she was pretty, and she was well-dressed. And we ended up going on a date, and she was like senior assistant vice president at some financial place. I won't kind of give it away, but she had like a really good job and like had some really, impressive credentials and was just beautiful and charming and witty, and we had the same type of sense of humor. And it was the first time that I had really been like, whoa, like, I think you can do better than me, And I was at my point in my self-growth where I was like doing a lot of drugs and drinking a lot and banging lots of chicks, and I'm like, you kind of deserve better than me, And we had been in this relationship and dating for a while, not exclusively, but kind of off and on, where we had a big falling out, where I had just kind of not contacted her. And she's incredible. And she like called me up and was like, why haven't you called me? And I was like, well, I've been busy. She was like, no, bullshit, Gareth. What's going on? She was like, are you not interested in me anymore? Because when you talk to me, I can tell you're interested in me. And I was basically like, listen, I don't think I'm worthy of dating you. I have all these things in my life that are going on, and God, this is like 5 years ago. And I was like, well, it must have been 5 years ago. I was like, there's these issues that I have, and everything in your life is so laid out and you're so incredible. I think you could date a guy better. And she was like, I know the issues in your life, and when you open up to me about them, that I'm actually more attracted to you because it shows me how much you're growing. It shows me the success that you're having, and these vulnerabilities that you have make you a human being. I don't want to be with a guy that's like the coolest dude ever, who is the most successful, who has everything done, because then what happens? Then you don't evolve, then you don't grow, then nothing changes, then you're going to be this when you're 60 years old. She was like, the things that you're doing, the things that you're discovering, the troubles that you're having and how you work through them are what I find attractive about you. And it like blew my mind, because we get into this idea where we don't want to display vulnerabilities, where we want to be the most manly men that we can possibly be and that kind of stuff. And in actuality, we want to be human beings. People do want to date human beings because they themselves have vulnerabilities. And the worst thing about vulnerabilities is when you have them around somebody that you think doesn't have vulnerabilities, and that's essentially what we're portraying to these women. We're completely stoic. We're completely handled. We're all well ironed out. These girls don't want to open up. They don't want to show that they have a tough life, and they don't want to contest with our or compete with our tough life, with their tough life, or they feel like they haven't got their shit together, So we have to remember it is all about being human. It is all about being open and being vulnerable. And being willing to, kind of admit that we are all humans and going around on this planet trying to figure out what the hell we're doing.
What happened with that one, by the way?
I still talk to her. She lives in L.A., and I'm obviously here, but there is not, without kind of getting into it too much there, it's not really fair for us to have an exclusive relationship, like how much I travel and what I do and stuff. But, I would, without a question, step in front of a train for that girl in a heartbeat. She's just an incredible person.
If you were ready to marry someone, which should be the one?
I can't comment on that. I can't comment on that in case she hears or anybody else hears. It's not. I don't know. It's not an answer I could give.
How old are you, by the way, Gareth?
28.
Yeah, you're still young.
You're still young. Everybody older than 28 thinks I'm a baby. Everybody younger than 28 thinks I'm ancient. Yeah.
Cool, man. Dude, I don't have any other questions. Do you anything you want to talk about? These guys are like, guys that are listening are sometimes they're new, sometimes they've been practicing for a few years. They're looking for inspiration. Sometimes they're looking for guidance. I know a lot of them tend to have got in the community, got excited, and then perhaps have not accomplished the goals they set out for themselves initially. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts to them, and just to share them?
Okay, well, on this journey, and this is going to be kind of a rant, so just be prepared for that. On this journey of self-betterment, self-growth and stuff, you have to understand a couple things. We're all really aware that we are moving towards becoming better people, okay? And one of the first things that's really tricky about this journey is that we recognize our insecurities and we recognize our faults, and we have to find a way to kind of fix those things in ourselves so that we can become a whole person. Now, fixing them doesn't equate to covering them up, right? And that's a really, really important thing. A lot of guys think that they can just cover up the stuff that's wrong. And it really comes down to becoming more of a whole person. Now, in the 6 years that I've been doing this, I've seen some major changes. I mean, major, major changes in style of game, and we're really moving towards a more of an inner game centric community, and that's been that way for, I want to say 3 or 4 years now, when I won Best New Pickup Artist in the World, it was because I was like, a lot of the in-person training, because I was putting out things like text message, like guides, say this and say that and shit like that, and really the more I'm discovering is that there are these big holes in our understanding of human interaction that we really need to fix. So what I'm doing right now is I'm working on some philosophies and some exposés kind of that really teach guys about another way to look at interactions with women, right? So I'm known a lot. I've just been asked to do this weekly column for Cliff's List as their style advisor, which is pretty cool, which is amazing. They said to me, we polled our users and asked who we thought would be the best to be a style advisor for us, and they all said you. So now I mail out once a week to like 17,000 people, which is crazy. But it really, my style and the way I present myself is really important because it reflects a very, 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 very important part of the philosophy that I teach, and that is men need to make effort. And the cool thing about this industry, like we were talking about, the guys that get on the boot camps have already shown that they want to change, is that the people listening to this kind of podcast or this kind of interview want to make the effort. Right? And we need to kind of paint some examples. So we're writing 2 books. A neuroscientist and I are writing 2 books. The first is directed towards women, okay? And it basically says, hey, don't give up on looking for what you want, right? Settling is going to lead to unhappiness, and this is the only life we have. And everything that we do is surrounded by the idea that we only have one life. Okay, we only have this one time on this planet. This is the last September 24th, 2013 we're ever going to get. And these girls start out, and they watch these Disney movies and they say, I want to marry a prince. I want to marry somebody who's going to swing off the pirate ship with their sword and stab the pirate king and sweep me off my feet and take me back to his castle, and then they slowly let these things peter out, these standards, these desires, and because, it's not really possible, or it's not likely that I'll find a guy like that. And unfortunately, as I smoke my cigar, that's our fault as men. Okay? We are at a serious deficit when it comes to the amount of effort men put into themselves in order to make the world a better place. And women are the ones that are suffering because they're the ones that have to settle. Okay, so if you go to Eastern Europe, if you go to a place like Belgrade, in Serbia, you'll discover these guys wear basically tracksuits, and they're all fat, and they're all pretty, rough. And the women are all incredibly gorgeous and speak tons of languages and are all working to get these degrees. And in their spare time, they're a model at like Ford agency. And because all of the men have pretty much let themselves go or, focus on other things, especially clothing and stuff like that, these women have to settle for those type of guys. And, I had an interesting conversation with a Serbian girl that Sasha Degame had actually started a relationship with. I said, listen, when you see a guy walking in Republic Square in Belgrade wearing a suit and a tie, and he's modern dressed, and he's, obviously got his shit together, do you look at that guy and say he sticks out like a sore thumb? Why is he overdressed? Or how do you look at him? And she said this great phrase, and I'll never forget this. She said, when I see a guy who is well dressed, it says to me that man can choose a suit. That man can choose a pair of shoes to go with that suit. That man gets what he wants. So he's got the job that he wants. He's got the woman in his life that he wants, and he can choose one if he wants to. And that was just like, and it started opening up my mind about what I think about the concept of effort, the effort that we men put into this. Women will come up to me and they'll say, why are you wearing a suit at a bar? And I'll say, if you're looking for the right guy, if you're looking for Mr. Right, if you're looking for a guy that can provide for you, that one that takes himself seriously, the one that takes the world around him seriously, and the one that can really represent, who he is and the amount of success and the amount of protection he can lend to the world, the amount of providing, the amount of effort that he makes in all of his things, who are you going to choose? Who do you think represents that the best? Is it the dude in the no fear t-shirt? Is it the dude in the cargo shorts? Or is it the dude that dressed up to go out? The dude that took pride in the way that he looks? And every girl has been like, yep, that's it. That's exactly it. And it's really important that women need to be made aware of that their efforts aren't in vain. I mean, God, men have this incredible luxury of being able to see these women. Women sometimes say, oh, we just get dressed up for other women. But like the dresses these women put on, the makeup they put on, a woman spends on average 78 minutes getting ready before she gets out. She goes out rather. The hair that she does, the uncomfortable shoes that she wears, how much money she spends on all this stuff. And what do we guys do? The lucky ones, the smart ones go to the store and buy a trendy t-shirt to wear with their lucky jeans. And then, I'm wearing dress shoes with my jeans. How clever am I? That's a slap in the face to women, So the other book is really like, is geared towards men. And it basically says that like, we have to step up. We have to make the effort. If we're going to get these women that deserve us, we really have to really just take control of ourselves, and that how we present ourselves and the even down to just the smoothness of how we interact and the manners that we use and the way that we communicate and how seriously we take ourselves and how we present ourselves and how we behave for these women because of how important they are into our lives really needs to be shown. We really need to step up, because women are such an amazing piece of our lives. We have to represent that, and we have to return that by being as amazing to them as they are to us. And so a lot of what I teach at Art of the Playboy is presentation. A lot of what I teach is understanding the philosophy and generating your own man code and generating your own kind of moral compass and really operating by that. When I see things online where guys are like, you should only, if you have a bottle of nice wine and a bottle of cheap wine and you bring a girl back to your house for the first time, you use the bottle of cheap wine to have drinks because you don't know if she's worth the bottle of nice wine. I'll see things like that and it just enrages me because it means that guys are only settling for the lowest common denominator. You know, if you come over, I don't think we've ever met in person. If you come over to my house, I'm going to bust out the nicest bottle I have because that's the kind of person I am. That's the kind of life I want to create. Those are the kind of standards that I have. And we all have to live by this. You know what? If you've got a girlfriend you had a relationship with for 6 months and she cheats on you, you can be as furious as you want about it. But sending her naked pictures onto the internet to get back at her isn't going to do anything but hurt her and show what a douchebag you are. You swallow your pride. You say, this is how I feel about that girl. I'm not going to let it happen to me again. And I'm going to move on with my life in a gentlemanly and civil fashion so that I can make this world a better place because we're going down the shit. You know, this whole place, the way that people interact, the way that, you know, I mean, look at reality TV, you know, look at how those people interact. That stuff's going down the tubes. And it is up to us to make this better. You know, it's up to us individually as the men that are interested in improving our lives and essentially improving the world around us. It is so important for us to take those few extra steps to really just become the guys that people want to breed with, you know, as weird as that sounds, to be the people that we want to populate this planet with. And it's going to create a rift where we are going to essentially end up getting what we want, not because we take it by hook or by crook, but because people want to give it to us because of how valuable we are as human beings.
I think Hugh Hefner, in one of his movies, he was doing an interview and he said, Hev, is the world a better place now, you know, when you first compared to when you were, you know, in your prime years. And he said, in some ways, yes, but in some ways we're missing a little more class.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and it's so important.
You know, it's like, in some ways going down the toilet, you know, TV shows are just getting worse and worse and appealing to our very basic instincts and desires and instead of being a little deeper, you know? And I think that if you can be a gentleman, if you can be that playboy that that people gravitate towards, that you don't have to ask for anything, but just things just are given to you because of what the value that you provide. You know, that's pretty rare thing in today's world. Not many guys do that. So.
And that's so sad that we have ended up in that way because it you know, I'm not the perfect example, but I'm growing to move forward so that I can become a great example. And you know, I had a discussion with this girl like 2 days ago, and she's just come to Canada. She's Australian, just come to Canada to study. And she said, I met this guy the other night who was the most beautiful man I had ever seen. She was just like, I couldn't fathom him. And he was so attractive, I just walked over and started talking to him. And the way he treated women was horrible. And she was like, it was so clear that because he can get what he wants, he finds that he can treat women any way that he wants. And that became like, and she said, I thought of you instantly because you could have shown up and you could have taken any girl away from him because the way, you know, the little addition to that mindset, I can get whatever I want. So everyone is great. I can be nice to everyone. I can make everyone feel special. And everybody in their, everyone in their life has somebody that just makes them feel like $1 million. You know, maybe it's another guy, maybe it's a girl, maybe it's whatever, but it's somebody that every time you think about them, you're like, geez, you know, I wish I could spend more time with him. He just feels really good, you know? And there's no reason why we can't be those people. You know, there's no reason why we just can't spread that value and make these people feel good about themselves and want to spend more time with you. And that's like that just simple idea. You know, if you can work on who you are as a man and your style and your dress and the way you love women and the way you interact with people and the way you communicate, and then focus on sharing value and making everyone feel good around you, you essentially conquer the world. You know, that's charisma, the ability to influence without logic. And that's like, what else could you possibly need if everyone is on your side? You know, and she said to me, I just want to see if I can find the quote. Like, she basically said, like, if there was just some way that he could understand that he could just take what he is and add being nice to it, it would just shut down everything. You know, he'd get repeat clients. Every girl would want to marry him instead of just wanting to hook up with him once. And that's, you know, that's as plain as day to me how necessary it is.
Yeah, I remember talking to this girl. She was a model in Miami. I stopped her on the street, and I talked to a lot of models that week. I think it was like, I don't know, some kind of fashion show.
Fashion Week.
It wasn't Fashion Week because I would have known exactly when that was, but it was like some kind of event, right, in South Beach. And I remember she was 23. She's been modeling since she was 16, and I could tell that she wasn't interested in me just because she had other things on her mind at that moment. But she took the time to talk to me, and she was very polite. And when I left, I thought that was a classy girl, and I realized that other people look at me the same way sometimes because of my affiliation, and it's like they're your fans, right, in a way, or your friends, or people that admire you, and you should treat them like you're there because of them, as opposed to you can do whatever you want because they admire you. And,
Yeah, I mean, the idea, especially when guys are like, oh, approach that girl and then act like you're not interested in her. It's like, you're an idiot. Like, you want me to approach that girl that I'm interested in and then act like I'm not interested in? That's just going to be ridiculous, Go prove to that woman that she is so valuable that you want to meet her. That you want to see if she can be a part of your life because you are valuable as well.
right.
And nobody doesn't like fun. Nobody doesn't like feeling good. Like, it's just mind blowing to me. And that's one of the things that, when guys that are learning this pickup stuff, they really have to keep in mind. I mean, like, I try not to brag about this, but I don't have any negative reviews of me online. And the reason that is because you have to understand that people are people, Like, all these pickup artists, I won't say anything, but all the Hollywood pickup artists that are like, look at how much of a rock star I am, and look at how cool I am, look at my life I lead, and I pretend I'm better than people that don't lead a life like this. Like, no one wants to fucking hang out with you. That's how you hang out with people that, like, aren't as cool as you. That's not how you get a circle of people that want to spend time with you or that are valuable. It's not, hang out with cooler people than you and be humble and learn from them, and they're going to love you and you're going to love them, and then all of the other people are going to want to hang out with you too. I mean, I could rant forever and ever, amen, but, be good to one another is going to get you what you want, period.
Awesome. So artoftheplayboy.com, right?
Yep, that's it.
Website. You guys can check it out. He offers one-on-one coaching, boot camps, and you're in the process of writing a few products.
Yep. I've got these 2 books coming out. I do a lot of Skype training to one-on-ones and boot camps, and then I'm pretty much accessible on all levels of social media. Like I said, www.artoftheplayboy.com, facebook.com/becominggentleman, which is a triple entendre, and then Twitter and Instagram at Art of the Playboy.
Great. We'll include all those links in the post. And are you going to be back in Hollywood, or are you going to be on the East Coast?
My plan right now is to go to Paris, either Paris or Austin, Texas. But I don't know how soon that's happening. So, I mean, I travel for work anyway. So I'll be in Vegas. I'll be in Austin. I'll be in a lot of different places.
Yo, thanks so much for joining us, and we appreciate it. Maybe we'll see you again soon next time.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure anytime. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gareth.